If you were born in Iran, congratulations. You've unlocked a country where tea isn't just a drink, it's a lifestyle. And poetry might just be more sacred than the Constitution. You've landed in a place where kebab is king, traffic lights are polite suggestions, and everyone has an opinion on Rumi, even your grandma. Don't worry though, things might get confusing, absurd, hilarious, and oddly poetic. Buckle up. This isn't a travel ad, it's your hypothetical life. You're born in a hospital where the walls still have posters from the 80s, and the nurse welcomes you with a cup of hot black tea. No, not for you, for your mom, and probably your uncle, and the guy fixing the ceiling fan. Your first lullabies? Verses from Saudi and Hafez, whispered like state secrets. You learn to walk between Persian carpets, not on them. That's sacred ground. Try stepping on one and prepare for exile from the living room. Soon, you're in primary school. That's when the real fun begins. You're taught math, science, and how to recite ancient poetry with the same level of enthusiasm you might reserve for a birthday party. You quickly discover that the national sport is not wrestling, it's exams. Middle school arrives. You're now fluent in 2 languages, Farsi and sarcasm. You've also begun to master the ancient art of passing notes in class without the teacher seeing. It's basically ninja training, Iranian edition. High school is when things get serious. You're told you need to choose your future. Doctor, engineer, or no, just those 2. Don't get any ideas about becoming an actor unless you want your scenes cut and dubbed over with meaningful silence. And university? Only if you survive the national entrance exam, a rite of passage so traumatic even kebab can't heal the wounds. Yet somehow, through tea breaks, late-night study sessions, and your mom asking if you ate enough every single hour, you make it. Welcome to adulthood. So you've made it to university. Or, as your family calls it, the waiting room for marriage. Your national entrance exam score didn't just get you into a university, it also instantly redefined your value at family gatherings. Suddenly, aunts you've never met are calling your mom to ask about your future plans. Spoiler, they don't mean your degree. You step into your first college classroom and instantly notice something curious. Half the class is texting under the desk, and the other half is pretending they're not being watched. You thought you came here to learn? No, this is performance art with a midterm. Your major really doesn't matter. Whether you study engineering, literature, or something exotic like Western philosophy, you'll eventually end up working in something completely unrelated, like everyone else. And yet there's pressure. Pressure from parents, pressure from society, pressure from that one uncle who keeps asking, "So, what will you do with that degree?" But let's not get too negative. University is also where you taste freedom, a little bit. Like, you're finally allowed to hang out at the campus cafeteria for hours, drinking, yes, tea, and if you're lucky, with actual sugar cubes instead of just existential despair. Social life? It's complicated. Want to go on a date? Better bring a friend, preferably 5. Mixed gender socializing is technically frowned upon, so couples are often spotted in the wild pretending to be cousins. Again, don't ask. Every relationship is basically a covert operation. Texts are coded, eye contact is an Olympic sport. Let's just say a pinky touch might cause a national emergency. But there's romance in the air. Or maybe that's just the smell of street kebab. Either way, love happens. Quietly, carefully, sometimes dramatically. And eventually, inevitably, someone will say, "So, are you getting engaged?" Or you enter your 20s with an impressive skill set. You can fill out any government form with your eyes closed. You've memorized your national ID number, and you've developed the rare ability to translate vague office rules into real survival strategies. Now comes the job hunt. It's less, what do you want to do, more than, what will they even let you do? Welcome to the magical realm of employment, where job descriptions are written by ancient sorcerers and salaries are negotiated via telepathy. Let's talk money. No, let's not. It hurts, but fine. You get your first paycheck, and immediately half of it vanishes into things you didn't know were taxable, like breathing. Rent is high, inflation is higher, and you begin to understand why everyone drinks so much tea. It's cheaper than therapy. Still, you hustle. You start freelancing, then side hustling, then mega side hustling. Before long, you're an accountant by day, a social media manager at night, and a part-time English tutor on weekends. Your resume looks like a buffet menu. And somewhere in there, you realize you've accidentally started a small business. Congratulations, you're now a reluctant entrepreneur with a degree in mechanical engineering. By 30, everyone you know is either married with 2 kids or desperately avoiding weddings. You've attended so many engagement parties, you can recite the traditional wedding songs backwards.
You've developed an instinct for spotting the good kebab from the bad one. That's maturity in Iran. Meanwhile, your parents still ask when you'll become a doctor. Even if you own a successful startup and employ 10 people, tradition dies hard. And speaking of tradition, every Nowruz you clean your house so violently it qualifies as cardio. You also begin to really appreciate the subtle art of complaining. Complaining is not just a pastime in Iran, it's a unifying cultural bond. Traffic? Complain. Inflation? Complain. Weather? Definitely complain. But always with poetic flair. Something like, even the sun weeps today beneath the shadow of rising rents. In your 30s, you've mastered the bureaucratic labyrinth. Want a new passport? Easy. Just provide your birth certificate, your grandfather's military record, 6 notarized photos, and a goat. Kidding. Kind of. You've also accepted that every office job comes with 2 constants, a mandatory tea break every 2 hours, and a printer that has never once worked properly. That printer is eternal. It was there before you. It will remain long after you leave. As you approach 40, a curious shift happens. You become comfortable. You've survived the chaos. You've adapted to the daily ironies, the gas station that never has gas, the ATM that only works on Tuesdays, and your coworker who takes a quick nap every afternoon under his desk. You've traveled, maybe not far, but often. Yazd, Shiraz, Tabriz, not just cities, but timelines of Persian history. You've walked through bazaars that smell of saffron and ancient stories. You've visited Persepolis, stood where kings once stood, and taken a selfie, naturally. And the poetry. The poetry. It's no longer homework. Now it's a balm. You read Rumi when you're sad, Hafez when you're in love, and Khayyam when you're confused by the price of tomatoes. By 45, you're still asking questions, still negotiating rent, still stuck in traffic, but you've made peace with the madness. You have your routines, tea with your parents, complaining with your coworkers, arguing politics with your taxi driver. This is your life. It's messy, it's hilarious, it's frustrating, and oddly, you wouldn't trade it. Because despite the red tape, the power outages, and the 17 versions of kebab no one really asked for, it's home. Congratulations. You've made it to the age where your favorite activity is comparing knee pain with your neighbors. Retirement? Technically, yes, but also no. You're still helping your son pay rent and your daughter plan a wedding, for the 3rd time. Your mornings begin with 2 cups of tea and a heated debate with your cousin about which generation ruined the country more. Spoiler, it's always the younger one. You live in a quiet neighborhood. Quiet, meaning 5 cats, 3 mosques, and a guy who sells watermelons from a loudspeaker at 7 a.m. You go on long walks, mostly to the pharmacy. You watch old Iranian films and pretend they don't make them like they used to, even though you've secretly watched a Turkish soap opera every night for 7 years. You tell your grandkids how life used to be better, despite overwhelming evidence to the contrary. You gift them a farce carpet they don't want and a Hafez poem they don't understand. It's tradition. Nowruz rolls around again, and this time you sit while everyone else does the scrubbing. You scroll through your phone with 1 finger and 100% effort. You send voice notes that begin with Salam Azizam and end with 5 minutes of background TV noise. But you're happy. Sort of. You've survived blackouts, currency collapses, 5 governments, and 4 different national slogans. You've earned your seat at the cafe. You order saffron tea and stare into the distance like a Persian Clint Eastwood. And sometimes, just sometimes, you remember how absurd and beautiful it all is. If you were born in Iran, you drink 17 cups of tea a day, debate politics in taxis, and memorize Hafez poems just to quote them in awkward family dinners. You'd master the art of complaining with poetry, romance with metaphors, and queuing with patience forged in hellfire. And yet through the chaos, the culture, the comedy, you'd find a kind of rhythm. A beautiful, baffling, carpet-woven rhythm. So, if you think you could survive the tea, traffic, and tradition, tell us in the comments. And don't forget to like, or else I'll send your grandmother to ask why you're not married yet.